Back on to you again right here on GOD Radio 1. We just heard from the President of the United States claiming a state or calling for a state of emergency. We're going to be preempting shows today just to make sure that we get the word out. Today, I am so fortunate to have a good friend of mine and a tremendously large leader in our community, which is Mr. Rudolph Johnson from the Neighborhood House. We want to make sure that I wanted to give you this platform, sir, because you impact so many of our young kids and our families, and I wanted you to be able to make a statement to the community and the world about how things are handling. So I want to turn it over to you and your colleague today.
Well, thank you, Leonard. I appreciate it. I have Damon Carson, our General Manager of Education and Instruction, here with me to specifically talk about those areas of instruction and education by way of early Head Start, our summer youth programs, such as our college academy, as well as our technology center. So he'll speak more granularly to those programs, but globally, as you can imagine, an operation of our size, we're 850 employees plus. We're about a $100 million a year operation. We operate out of a little bit more than 100 locations countywide, south of Temecula to the Tijuana border to the eastern edge of El Cajon. So we're a very large and robust operation, and we touch probably 9 to 10,000 clients per day. So when you put all that together in this environment, there are a few things that you have to pay attention to in light of the current situation. So number one, we have to look at the safety and well-being of our employee base, our client base, and then how we're interacting with the community at large. So for the last, I would say, 4 to 5 days, we've been really strategically planning for worst case scenarios. Obviously, we just heard from the president. He's declared a national emergency, and so we'll find out more details from the federal level what that means to us on the ground. Essentially, the actions that we've taken thus far is we've pushed information out to our employee base that talks about what to do in the case of being feverish, feeling sick. Please stay home, stay off work. Go get checked out by a physician or a professional in the medical arena. And then contact your supervisor and HR immediately so then we can triage and assess that particular situation and isolate from there. Furthermore, this morning, I gave the directive to close down our Head Start and early Head Start operations on school sites. And that was in concert with the San Diego Unified School District, who basically declared that they were going to suspend operations through about the 1st of April. So that directive has gone out. We're informing our employee base and our parents as we speak. That impacts about 1,000 children at about 25 to 30 sites. And we're looking at the other parts of our operation to monitor for potential suspensions, postponements, or closures of those operations as needed.
So one of the things I want to find out is this is a great impact into the city, but Head Start and those early years are major, and so the parents that are tied to your program, what do they do now? Because so many of them have to work. Are we going to have the situation where they say latchkey kids and kids kind of being left at home by themselves? What do you think is going to happen, and what advice can we give parents that are still called into work? They might be that janitor that is called to help sterilize schools or whatever. What are there any plans that we're trying to do, and even in lining up with maybe even church ministries and things of that nature?
So I'll make a global comment, and I'm going to let the professional handle the more granular piece. So imagine most parents that we serve in the Head Start arena probably have other children in the K through 12 system. So if you think about it, when the K through 12 system announces that they're going to close down and they may have 40,000 students or so, we serve about 6,000. So, we're really the tail wagging the dog, so to speak. And so because we're sharing space and facilities and infrastructure, we have to abide by their decree to suspend or close. That said, we're assuming that when they make that decision, they being the local, education entities, that it's already putting that parent in a particular situation, right? And so here we come with our announcement. The thing that we're going to do a little different, and I'm going to let Damon speak to it, is that we're going to try to set up some online tutorial support for those parents. So you're not just home with your child, not advancing the education that we've been providing them, but we're going to give them tools to further that scenario. So Damon, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Rudy, and Rudy certainly hit it on the head. These years are the most critical years in terms of learning for our young children. And the children in our program are some of the most vulnerable children and families in our county. 90% of our families live below the federal poverty guidelines. So any missed opportunity is very, very crucial to that potentially could harm or break the cycle, if you will, of their learning. We take it very, very seriously to make sure, as we're going through this crisis, to give parents every opportunity to rely on Neighborhood House to help them continue on. Our program, Head Start and Early Head Start, is a federally funded program. So we get all of our guidance straight from Washington, D.C. I'm in constant contact with the central office back in D.C., really seeking guidance, but also throwing out ideas on how we can continue opportunities for learning for our children and families. And so some of the things that we're talking about is standalone drop-in child care centers while we're dealing with the situation here locally. We are, as Rudy mentioned, setting up virtual platforms for parents to go online to seek materials and activities for their children. But it's very critical that we support our working families. San Diego is a very tourist-driven local economy here, and so we're going to have to really put on our thinking caps and find really creative ways to be able to offer child care opportunities while we're going through this crisis.
Now, Mr. Johnson, the last major situation that I can recall were the fires of 2000, and where it literally shut down the city. And even up here, the fires were going, so they literally shut down this whole street. It looked like a war zone.
Right.
And so many schools were shut down and things of that nature. What did we learn from that time to now that we're implementing, that we're doing it even better?
So internally, our technology is better. And so we're able to communicate with our employee base and our clients more seamlessly. So we do robocalls. We're able to communicate executive to operational levels quicker. Our contingency planning is in place. So it's funny. Damon and I were meeting this morning, and as things were rolling out, as the school district announced their closures, as we heard about the president, we really were kind of saying to ourselves, we expected this to happen a week ago when we started to pull our planning scenarios off the shelf. So I think we're better prepared. It's not that we're any smarter, we're just tried and tested, in terms of surviving, a couple of those disasters, unfortunately. And so I think the more you can communicate, the factual your information, and the clearer that you're giving, the clarity by which you're giving instruction to employees and clients, I think they appreciate it and it helps.
All right, so we're sitting here now. Parents are getting the news this morning. Schools are closing down. One of the things that you all do is you feed your children, and that it becomes a support of 2 meals a day. I know in Unified, they're now, this food services saying that they're going to have some type of support. Question I have, and I want us to backtrack a little bit, because I want people to know what does the Neighbor House do and their mission, so that they'll know even more about who you are. You guys are iconic in our location, but this is worldwide, and I want them to be impacted, and why it was so important that you have this. We wanted to give you this format. Our platform, we had school board, we had the big publisher here, we had a medical doctor, we had the biggest pastor in the city, and you are one of the biggest organizations that have great impact in this community. So I wanted you just to kind of give them the background, and then let's talk about the food.
Well, the background, again, we've been in this community for over 105 years, since 1914. We're no babe in the woods. We operate about 25 programs through what we call a continuum of care that starts second trimester of pregnancy. We try to deliver healthy children into the world. We educate them. We uplift them. We tutor them. We provide college tutorial services. We want them to come back and work for us while they're going to school. And then eventually our goal, those children that we're bringing into the world healthy 20 years from now, we want to hire them into our workforce. So that's our continuum of care vision. And we have all the pieces of that model in place, and then we wrap the families around with our wraparound service support. So having said that, in the area of nutrition, we produce about 6,000 meals a day.
Wow.
6,000 meals a day, and most individuals don't know that about us. I'm going to let Damon speak to the emergency food piece, and then I'll kind of chime in from there.
Okay.
Certainly, many of our families depend on us for a couple of meals a day. And so the thought of that not being present here in the very near future, just for us internally, is a call to action. We are having discussions as we speak about setting up food pantries, various locations where families can stop by at any given point during the day to pick up some staples that can sustain them over the course of a week or so. We are well prepared with our operation. Rudy says 6,000 meals a day. I'll expand that to 1 million meals a year, meaning we're very experienced in food production. Not only do our own internal clients rely on us, but there are other nonprofits, the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA's here in our county. They rely on us too to produce food for them, and so we are a tremendous resource. We are an agency that doesn't sit on the sidelines. We will come to your front door if need be to deliver the things you need to be able to have a quality life. So we're well prepared. As early as next week, we'll start to roll out certain things to get food in the hands of those that really need it.
Sure. And let me just add to that. I mean, there's a business side to this that is kind of the monster in the corner of the room that we haven't tapped. And that is, local education agencies, or LEAs, they get their funding directly from a government source like the state or the feds. For us, sometimes it's indirect. In the case of Head Start, it's a direct funding model. So that being said, when they make announcements about suspension and closures, they can go directly to the state and get emergency relief to allow them to start producing meals and feeding children even though the site is closed. an agency like the Neighborhood House, which is not an agency that's been created through a state or federal entity, has to wait on that federal or state or local funding partner to really tell them what they can and cannot do to be reimbursed appropriately. So if we were to just say today, I'm declaring on all those sites that we're going to be suspending through April, we're going to still be preparing food, and children and families can come and eat without hearing from the federal or state officials. I may be running a risk that we're preparing meals and won't be reimbursed. Now, it can be a good community service, but it can bankrupt the agency in the process. So we're kind of waiting on the feds and the state to say, Neighborhood House, it's okay to do that, and we'd be happy to jump in and get in the game.
And I think that that's very important because there are so many people out there that desire to help, that are putting action plans, including churches. But again, it's all about how deep the coffers are because it might not be reimbursed. And so I know that that puts, the organization as a predicament because you feel an obligation to your constituents, but you also don't want to make a move that could then shut it all down. So that's one of the things about how, and I give you credit because you have been able to link with your local officials in the organizations that you're able to navigate the slowness of the bureaucracy.
Correct.
And that is a sign of true leadership, a true collaborator, and people valuing what you bring to the table. That's the one reason why we wanted to make sure that you all could use the platform to continue that effort, because at this time and season, it is about community. It is about our cities. It is about our families. And everybody, like I tell people, we put everything to the side to do what's best
Right.
for our neighborhoods and our communities. So the next question I would ask, is there any connectedness with the church community in a sense of how they might be able to help and chime in with you all?
There is, this issue really has opened our eyes to the interconnectivity of everything that we do. We operate programs on church campuses as we speak and have for a number of years. So there's some inherent comfort there. This is an opportunity, and I think I mentioned that early, for the community, whether it's the religious community, the educational community, the philanthropic community, the business community, to really open up dialogue and see how we can structurally work together to meet the needs of the children and families that are in our community. It's an opportunity, again, to create awareness. In my personal opinion, why the government and our funders and regulators sometimes are slow to act and respond is because they're far removed from where the work actually happens. So we have an opportunity to create an awareness of some of the things that we need immediately. And they don't necessarily at all times think about that. They don't think about the single mom who has a job that is very demanding, and she has to think about who's going to care for her child while this closure is happening because she cannot take off work. But certainly there's an opportunity there for churches to step in, provide nutrition. There's opportunities there for organizations like the Neighborhood House to continue to serve. There's opportunities for the business community to step in and really help not only their employees, but the children of their employees. And so again, I see a lot of opportunity in this.
Amen. So one of the things that I want to say is we're here now. What can the community and the leaders and the people that are active do to support NHA during this season? And what do you need from the community, and what communication sources, what resources? How can we help advance what NHA is doing?
Well, I think, first of all, what you're allowing us to do today on the radio, Leonard, is just tremendous, and we value that and we appreciate your support. We would love to interact with other groups who, either are partners of ours operationally or just from an informational perspective, we can help each other. So that's number one. Number two, I think it's like the Red Cross model, right? You don't know or support the Red Cross until there's an emergency. And then the Red Cross reminds you that we have to replenish ourselves, our supplies, our resources for the next emergency. And for 105 years, we've been the rescuer in the community when these things happen and when we're putting folks to work and moving commerce. And so my request would be, don't forget us when this crisis is behind us. We need your support. We need your monolithic support. We need your group support. We need your monetary support. We need your resources, equipment, etc. I think we should be that neighbor of choice for you to support during and after and even before crises come to pass.
So I'm just gonna be real with you right now, and I'm gonna say this. I see T. Love is on the line. I want you to type this in and share this because I'm gonna be just like the Red Cross today. Y'all want to know how you can help? Don't send us blankets right now. Send us monetary gifts because that is going to allow us to put the resources in the best place. So if they want to donate now, because this is tax season, so people getting their refund checks, and if people want to donate and give to you right now, where can they go to make a donation?
Drive to neighborhoodhouse.org. One word, neighborhoodhouse.org, and look for the donate button.
And if I can add, all of us use Amazon.
Yes.
And so there's a platform on Amazon where a portion of the merchandise you buy can be donated to a nonprofit organization. And we want you to select the Neighborhood House Association when you make your Amazon purchases.
See, y'all making it easy where they can just go ahead and as they are shopping,
Yes.
can just go ahead and it's so painless
Yes.
because that Amazon Smile, you got to tell them to go to Amazon Smile,
yes,
and
sir.
they
Yes, sir.
have to pick and say they'll ask you what organization you want to donate
right.
to. You can say Neighborhood House, and every
That's
time
right.
you shop, you literally can go and get that. And it's automatically donated. You don't have to do nothing else.
Correct.
And then they even give you a button that you can say, I shared and I gave to organization. So you guys have little bragging rights too.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that is definitely what we want to make sure that happens. Now, on the educational side,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
are the teachers going to start doing online classes? What's going to happen? They're going to play nursery rhymes and look, y'all going to learn your ABCs while you're at home.
That's a difficult dance, let me be honest, because at this age, the social interaction, the social emotional development of children is the number one most important opportunity that we have. Children learn based off relationships at this age. And it's very difficult to have that person-to-person relationship online. However, understanding that the situations in which we're in, we are going to create platforms for parents to spend time with their children together to work on educational activities.
Okay, so now for all you parents out there that have been dropping your children off for the last 2 or 3 years and said, and the favorite one is, look, we didn't bother you all summer. Don't bother us during the year. This is your time to get close up and personal with your children that you have been dropping off, and you can understand. I think this is going to be a learning lesson. They're going to have so much empathy for the teachers after these 2 weeks.
Right.
They're going to be like saying, I just love you. They're going to be bringing the teachers snacks and everything else.
It
Go ahead.
sounds kind of cliche, but the parents are the primary teacher of the child.
Yes.
And that is our natural role as parents, is to teach our children. Again, any and every chance you have to do an activity or have engagement with your child, you need to use that as a learning opportunity.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, least us not forget, we are in the middle of a pandemic health crisis. And so we're not doing these particular actions to stress out or punish anyone. We're doing it in the abundance of caution so that we don't spread a disease that has hit this country by storm, and it looks like it's a tsunami. And so we're following the national, state, and local, directives and protocols. And in the abundance of caution, when the San Diego Unified School District says it's time for our 40,000 students to go home, it's definitely time for our 1,000 to go home as well as a protective measure.
And one of the things that Mr. Johnson, you're a grandfather,
Yes.
and I'm a grandfather.
Yes.
The risk for the children is not that high. It is for the older people.
Correct.
And you know how we are about the grandbabies. We gonna hug them. We gonna kiss them.
Yeah.
They all up in our face. They don't know how to cover their mouth yet, so they sneeze on us.
Right.
And then the spread can be that much quicker. And
Yes.
so a lot of people, the kids aren't at risk, but the kids are, we call them, they carry the germ.
Carriers. Yeah.
And as carriers, they can have a big impact on households and things of that nature. So that's the reason why they're closing and sterilizing, because of the fact that the spread, you might not be affected, because they're saying in the African nations, African people are not seeing the same pandemic situation.
Right.
But I do want to let you know, Black and Latinos, don't y'all go out there and say because we Black and Latino that we can't get it. Because that is a falsehood too.
Sure.
That Black and Latinos are not able to get it, but we have to be mindful of how it's being carried, and our kids can carry it to the older people, and we can then see the spread even more.
Absolutely. And again, in the abundance of caution, again, following the directives of the local officials, just kind of follow, the dropping of the breadcrumbs and ensure that you're taking those safe measures. And if it's overkill and we have saved someone's life, then guess what? We'll take the overkill, right?
Yeah. So I know that you all have other big meetings that you have to go to because people are coming together. Any final words, any things that you want to drive people to? And I want everybody to share this on your websites, on your social media. I know NHA will put it up so people can hear the interview, but I think it's very important that as much accurate information that can be given out, we're going to do that. And that's the reason why, again, NHA is here today, one of the true sources of information for communities.
No, I just want to say thank you again, Leonard. I appreciate you allowing us to come on air and really talk about some of the safety protocols to our employees. I want them to understand that I'm making decisions with their safety in mind. I'm establishing protocols that are in concert with national, state, and local officials. And to our clients out there, as we're making decisions, please keep in mind these are decisions to protect both them and our employees and to keep everyone safe.
Any final words, sir?
Like Rudy said, thank you for the opportunity. I think this is a time where we have to plan for the worst, but hope for the best. I think it's very important for our community to stay engaged and informed and not misinformed, and really go to websites affiliated with the California Department of Public Health, the San Diego County Department of Public Health, the Center for Disease Control, so you can have the most up-to-date, accurate information. Last piece, it's not too late to get a flu shot. I think that's often missed in the conversations that we're having around the coronavirus. Please, if you haven't, go out and get your flu shot. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, there you have it. This has been a special report from the Neighborhood House Association, a special edition on the coronavirus 2020. Again, tap into that organization, and that is neighborhoodhouse.org. Make a donation, get involved, let your voice be heard, and we appreciate you. Again, here's the Clark Sisters. Pray for the USA. God bless you all.